are you doing? Welcome to episode 41 of the More in You podcast. I'm so excited to be with you today. How's your day going?
Hi everyone, how are you doing? Welcome to this episode of the More in You podcast.
So what am I talking about
Last
today?
week I had a real interesting conversation with a friend of mine, Dr.
S.T.R.E.T.C.H.
She was talking about 7 ways to enjoy your life as women, 7 ways you could enjoy your life. And it was a real rich conversation that I thought, you know what, this week I'm going to put it out as a podcast so other people can also enjoy the nuggets she shared with us. So here you go, enjoy it. It's a live session, but hope you're able to glean and get 1 or 2 nuggets that would resonate with you.
First of all, I love to look at them from the dictionary. And one of the dictionary meanings that was really interesting to me was it said that to stretch is, of something soft or elastic, be made or be capable of being made longer or wider without tearing or breaking. So for something to get longer or wider without tearing or breaking. So really, when God gave me that word stretch, what I really understood from stretching is, it's almost like when you pull a rubber band. When you stretch a rubber band, what happens? It goes wider, it goes longer. And really that's what stretching does to us. Stretching is like a process of you just being pulled, almost you feel like you're pulled in various directions, whereby your capacity is increased without you might not really want to, but guess what, you find that you're being pulled, you're being, it's almost like when you look at Play-Doh, for example. For people that know what Play-Doh is, it's like a kind of dough that children play with. And with Play-Doh you can stretch it, it's malleable. But the interesting thing about stretching, when you stretch, I've found you don't remain the same. When you stretch, it hurts. When you stretch, often it's not convenient. When you stretch, it feels like, I don't want to be doing this. That is exactly what stretching does to us. And, so today, I'm going to share with you, this year has been really interesting. Just looking at that word stretch, what is done for me, what is doing, what I'm having to do. And I'm just going to share with you 10 ways in which you can increase your capacity. Because really the purpose of something stretching is for it to increase its capacity. Even when you look at a rubber band, stretching is to increase what it can do. So when you stretch, you're meant to increase what you can do, is to increase what you can be. This podcast is called the More in You podcast. For the more in you to come out, for the more in you to be birthed, for the more in you to be seen in so many ways. Guess what? Often you and I are going to have to stretch. Stretching is one of the things that takes us to the place of thriving and flourishing in what we're doing. And you're going to have to come out of your comfort zone most of the time. You're going to have to break, limits that you didn't want to. But guess what? As you choose to go on that journey of stretching, you're going to see the results that are going to come forth. So I think for me, that was the biggest part, is just accepting that word and saying, okay, what does that word mean? And now being able to step into what it means, whether I feel like or not feeling like. So I'm going to just share. So I coined an acronym, really interesting acronym, from the word stretch. And that acronym has those 10 things are embodied in that acronym. So I'm going to be sharing with you, starting with the letter S, the very first one. So I believe stretching starts really from the mind. So I want to encourage you, stretching, you're going to start from the mind. Everything starts from here, from right here in between your ears. And when I say from between your ears, the word of God says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Really, everything is here. I remember, I think it was about Einstein that says that thinking is the greatest work there is. And that's why a lot of people don't engage in it. I think it was about Einstein that said it. So thinking is almost like a job, something that you have to do. And so stretching starts from up here. Stretching starts from changing your mindset. Stretching starts from you thinking, I want to increase my capacity. How do I want to increase my capacity? Maybe it's in my career. What do I want to see? And then when I think of what I want to see, what am I going to be willing to give up? What am I going to be willing to grow? What am I going to be willing to let go of to see that capacity I want to see? What are the results I want to see in my life? And what am I going to be willing as a person to ensure that those things are seen in my life? That is what it is when you begin to stretch in your mind. And so stretching comes from within. So stretching comes in various ways from your mind. You stretch your mind by reading. You stretch your mind by learning. You stretch your mind by even unlearning things that are wrong and relearning new things. You stretch your mind by exposing yourself to other people that might be going where you're going as you begin to learn from them. So I want to challenge us this year to find ways in which you can stretch your capacity, you can stretch your mind. Are you reading any books? The books that you're reading, are they taking you in the direction of increasing your capacity? If you say, oh, I want to do this I want to do these numbers in my business. What books are going to help you? What people are going to help you? What are you going to do to increase, to ensure that your capacity is increased? How are you going to stretch your mind? Even your imagination is another big way you stretch your mind. I love to go from the word of God, and it says, Ephesians 3:20 says, God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above more than you ever are able to ask, think, imagine, dream. When you go to the Amplified version, he really does amplify that word. But I remember one day God said to me, I'm able to do. The question is, what blueprint are you able to bring to me to work on? So we want God to do exceedingly abundantly. We want God. What are we going to be willing to put, to do? What blueprints are we going to bring? In what ways do we want to stretch? So you must first of all sit down and think and say, in what areas do I want to increase my capacity? Now, what am I going to be committed to doing? What books am I going to be committed to reading? What courses am I going to be required to take if I want to increase my capacity? I remember in last week's podcast, I had a growth trigger come and share with us, and she was talking about how she was able to increase capacity on her job because she started to intentionally learn, intentionally grow herself. And as she began to grow herself, what happened? She found out that in that first year, she moved from a job and she started earning almost 3 times the amount she was increasing. She increased capacity. And so what am I saying? So it starts from here. You even thinking you're able, you even believing in yourself. It all starts from here. So let's begin to stretch first from the inside out. Everything starts from the inside out. We start from the inside out. Start to increase your capacity to think big. So increase your capacity in here. And that leads me to the T. And the T is for 2 things. It's for think big and trust God. So remember, we are thinking it in our mind. So we're starting off stretching from the inside out. Now we think big. What are you able to think? What are the dreams you're able to bring forth? What are the things that you believe are going to happen to you? What are you able to, in your imagination, what are you able to imagine if money was not an issue? If resources were not an issue, what would you be able to say, I can do this, I can do these numbers, I can increase capacity in my business, I can increase capacity in my career, I'm going to do this regarding my purpose this year, I'm going to do these 6 courses that are going to take me to my very next level. What are you going to, how big can you think? If I ask you, there are no barriers, how big can you think? So this is a time to get the limitations out. Say no to excuses. Say no to every other limitation, procrastination, comparison, all those limitations, throw them out of the window and begin to think out of the box. Begin to think big. And the second part of that T is trust God. So think big, trust God. Trust God means, I believe they go hand in hand. Think big, trust God. Which means as you think big, thinking big often will let you step out of what you are able to do in your own strength, what you're able to do in your own might, what you're able to do by yourself. Now you begin to think, okay, I'm thinking big, but this looks almost impossible. But God, I'm trusting you to be able to bring this to pass. I'm trusting you that I can do this. I'm trusting you to help me in these certain areas. So write them down. What are you going to trust God with as you think big? Oh, this is the kind of house that I would love to live in. Can you imagine it? Can you dream it? Can you put it down? Can you trust God to step into whatever you're believing God for? Well, something interesting has happened to me this year. As I was, I wanted to increase my capacity financially. And one of the things God said to me is, you're going to increase capacity in these areas. And so one of the things that I've had to do this year is expose myself to people that are doing numbers way bigger than me. And why did I step into those circles? So that I can I said to my husband, I need to increase my capacity in my mind. I need to think bigger than where I am right now. I need to be able to see that it's actually possible. So whatever you need to do to begin to think big, what you need to put it down and begin to walk in that area. Begin to think it. Begin to think, okay, I'm going to be able to do this, and begin to trust God to help you. The R stands for remember to cultivate relationships. So, and I'm going to put it this way, remember to cultivate growth relationships. So as you're thinking of increasing capacity, nobody goes alone where they want to go far. You often hear that quote, you can go fast. When you want to go fast, you go alone. When you want to go far, you go with people. So I want to just remind you that remember to not go alone, even in your increasing capacity. Look around you and think, who is going where I'm going? What growth relationships can I cultivate? Who can I team up with? Who can I collaborate with? Who can I learn from? Who can I serve? Who can I begin to watch them? Whose books can I read? Maybe they've made some mistakes in the past that I don't even need to make because they have made those mistakes. Who can I learn from? So I want to just encourage us, remember to not go alone in your increasing capacity, because there are people that God has brought along your way that are going to help you. They can help accelerate you. These people could be coaches. These people could be mentors. These people, I was sharing with somebody yesterday about how a story of one of my coaching clients, how she was able to get to her next level because of the things that we're able to brainstorm together, and she was able to break into it. And then I remember her saying to me, "Oh, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for encouraging me to do this." I challenged her. I said, "No, you're going to do this." That was a growth relationship. So what are the people that you need in your space in this season? Could it be a coach? Could it be a mentor? Could it be a peer that is, doing things that you want to do? Who could you learn from? What books could you read? Whatever you need to do, remember to cultivate. And when I say cultivation, means that you are paying attention to it. It means that you are doing the work. You are putting in the effort. Cultivating means that it's not just going to happen. You're going to have to look for those people. You're going to have to follow through with those people. You're going to have to do. You're going to have to do the work. Really, that is what it means. You are going to have to put in the work for you to cultivate the good relationships. You're going to have to tend to it. R, so that's R in stretch. The E stands for ensure you don't settle for the status quo, and that means don't settle for more. That is the E in stretch. Ensure, and I'm just telling you this to make sure that you actually do it. Ensure means that make sure that you don't settle for the status quo. I find that it's so easy to settle for the status quo. It is so easy to settle for we are, and really the status quo simply means, just the average life, just the regular, go to work, come back home, just the regular, doing life as it is. No. My husband was sharing something yesterday. He was saying that life does not give you what you deserve. It gives you what you put a demand on. So my question to you is, what are you going to put a demand on? What are you going to, you want more. You want to step into more. You want more in your career. You want more in your business. You want more. You want to step into more in every area of your life. But what are you going to ensure that you do so that you don't settle for the status quo? And when I say this, I also mean don't settle for less. Don't let anything stop you from doing all that God has called you to do. Don't let anything be big enough to stop you from, any limitation be big enough to stop you from stepping into the big picture. And that's why we say we're thinking big. We say we're trusting God. So that as you stretch in your mind, as you think big, as you trust God, as you cultivate these growth relationships, now you are going somewhere. You have to, and ensuring you don't step into this status quo also means that now you begin to look beyond yourself. You begin to look around you and say, who are the people that I'm called to who are the people that are going to help me in this thing that I'm called to? Who are the people that I can also help? Ensure you don't settle for less. That is simply what that means. The T in stretch stands for tend. Tend to your passion and purpose. That famous quote by I call him Great Miles Monroe. Where the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. That simply means when you don't know, what the purpose of a thing is, when you don't know what your purpose is, for example, you're just going to live anyhow. So tend, it simply means to tend to your passion and your purpose means that discover what your purposes. And I always tell people when they ask me what purpose means, it simply means the intent of a thing. It simply means that if this phone is meant to make a call, this phone is meant to send emails, I know what the purpose of this phone is. I would not scratch the purpose of this. I will not put like bricks on this phone and begin to do things on it. I will not use it. I will not throw this phone into the water because it's not meant for that. I would use it for what it's meant for. And that's simply what it means. Tending to your purpose simply means that get to discover it, and don't just discover it, but after discovery, begin to now ask questions. Begin to understand what it means for you to live out that purpose. Maybe God has called you, for example, maybe God has called you to teenagers. Let me give you an example. Maybe to teenagers, He said, okay, help these teenagers do blah, blah, blah. Now you need to begin to get an understanding, get a full picture of what it means to fulfill that purpose. It simply means the intent of the thing. What are you called to do? Tending to your purpose simply means that you begin to hone in on that purpose. You begin to look at the nitty-gritty. You begin to focus on your purpose and say, what does it entail? Is it going to entail me to train for it? Is it going to entail me to learn from somebody else? Is it going to entail me to develop it? Because a lot of people, I find a lot of people, they discover what their purpose is, but it's not even the discovery, but they never move past discovery. So really, you discover what God has called you to do, which means that you discover your part that God has called you to play in this time that you live in. He has called you, okay, this is what I've called you to do. Maybe your path is to do this in the political scene. This is what God has called me to do. I'm called to raise up young leaders. And then you begin to ask, okay, how am I supposed to do this? And so tending simply means that you begin to it's also almost like cultivation. You begin to watch over it and you begin to ensure that you're developing it. You discover what it is. Almost like when a woman is pregnant. When a woman is pregnant, she discovers that she's pregnant. Then she begins to develop. She begins to watch development unfold in her. Whereby for you are beginning to say, okay, what training do I need to go through? Okay, what books do I need to read? How can I tend to my purpose? What are the things that I need to do? How do I even serve it to my world? How do I ensure that I'm stepping out and I'm doing all these things that God is calling me to do? Tending to your passion. What are the things that you're passionate about? Often, Bishop T.D. says something. He says, you might not even know what your purpose is. He said, but when you find what your passion is, your passion will often lead you in the direction of your purpose. And I often say, if you don't know what your purpose is, guess where is the best place to find out? At the feet of your manufacturer. I always say, if my phone is a Pixel 6, made by Google, if I want to find out what my Pixel 6 does, I would not go to LG. I would not go to Samsung. I will go to Google. Google has made, Google wired my phone. They know what they wired my phone to do. They know exactly. LG might have an idea. Samsung might have an idea. But guess what? The manufacturer of a thing is the only one that has the blueprint of that product. And so for you and I, find out even what our purpose is that you go back to your manufacturer. And this goes by, you ask questions. You begin to ask, like, for example, when I began to say, God, what have you wired me to do? What have you called me to do? Your purpose is your calling. Your purpose is your part to play in this time. Your purpose is your part that God has called you to play in the earth. That is your purpose. It's your calling. It's what God has put upon you. There's something that God has put upon your life to do in your lifetime. And so finding it out simply means, there are various ways. I always say the very first way is to go back to your manufacturer and say, what have you wired me to do? Then I find that he begins to lead you. He begins to show you various ways in which you can find this out. First of all, he will begin to lead you. I remember for me, he reminded me of my childhood dreams. So I always talk about the 6 ways to discover purpose. So it reminded me how I used to write as a child, and that actually led me. And as I began to, as he began to bring back my love for writing, then he began to bring birth other dreams and began to lead me in things he wanted me to do so that I could fulfill the purpose of helping other people live out their purposes, which is what I'm called to do as a purpose midwife. And so, you discover it from a manufacturer. Number 2, you can discover it through your childhood dreams. Number 3, through the pains of the past, the pains and the things that you've gone through that have brought you pain, but now you have come out of it, and now God is saying to you, who can you help, to not go through what you went through? That often happens. The pains of the past is number 3. Number 4, I always say that the gift that God has put within you. What are those gifts that you have, that God has put within you? What are the dominant gifts? For me, for example, mine is speaking and writing. Writing. So I find that when I'm speaking, I just kind of flow because it's a gift. And what did I have to do? All I had to do when I knew what the gifts were, I began to refine them. And so people want to move. You want to move from the place of just discovery to the place of development. Development takes you into that process of refining it, takes you into the place of now serving it, and the place of mastery. So it is a place of refining, and you refine by tending to it. You tend to your passion, you tend to your purpose, you tend to the gifts that are on the inside of you. You begin to develop them. For me now, speaking, what did I have to do? I went to register. I had to learn from the best. I said, how can I speak better? How can I communicate better to people? How can I bring my message in the best ways? And so I began to learn. And so I find that stretching is a journey of learning. So as you tend to your passion, as you tend to your purpose, you begin to learn. So you find out your purpose from knowing what your gifts are, your dominant gifts. Also, there are stories of your life. There are stories. Some of us, all of us have stories. And maybe it was the way you were born that was really so peculiar that that this was, you are called to also people that are in that were born that same way, or you are called to use your story as a pointer. It's a pointer to your purpose. Your story can be a pointer. The way you were born, the circumstances surrounding it. Your story can be a huge pointer to your purpose. And so I want to encourage us to begin to, if you haven't discovered it, go back to your manufacturer. Say, manufacturer, open my eyes, lead me. And as you lead you, begin to open your eyes and begin to look around you and say, what are the ways, what are the things that you're calling me to do? What are the things that I'm passionate about? What are the gifts that He's put on the inside of me? What are the stories that my life is made of? What are the pains that I've suffered in the past that maybe because they are pointers to my purpose? What are the childhood dreams that I really wanted to do when I was a child, and now I still have it in my heart? I remember for me, for example, one of the things that was so dear to me was when I was growing up, because I used to write from the age of 8 and 9. I started writing, I think, about 8 and 9, age 8 or age 9. And at the time, I had this dream of I was going to help people. I was going to publish books. I was going to help people publish their books. And I didn't know how, but I just had that dream. But gradually, that dream is coming to pass. It was a childhood dream. So there are various ways that we can discover purpose, but we start at the feet of your manufacturer. If you really want to find out the fullness of it, and I always say, ask questions. What are the things that people compliment me on? What are the things that I'm so passionate about? What are the things that people see me and they just, what are the things that I do effortlessly? What are the things that I excel at? You cannot miss it when you begin to ask questions. Asking questions, John Maxwell said that when you ask questions, you would always get, when you ask the right questions, you always get the right answers. You cannot go wrong. So asking questions are so important. That's T. The C in stretch is choose to be intentional. I have to share that. I actually have 2 C's. Choose to be intentional. And I'm not going to dwell on it because I share so much on intentionality, but being intentional simply means to be deliberate and purposeful. Choose to be intentional in every area of your life. Choose to be intentional, in your time with God. Intentionality just means you put a demand on yourself to grow. Intentionality means you put a demand on yourself to increase capacity. Intentionality just simply means that you put a demand on yourself to be the best. Intentionality means you put a demand on yourself and say, you know what, I can do this. It might stretch me. It might, it might be difficult, but I can handle this. I can go through this. I'm going to come out better on the other side. Intentionality means that you're not going to let anything stop you. You're just going to put in the work. You're going to say, I'm going to grow no matter what it takes. I'm ready to read. If I have to read 2 books a month, if I have to learn, if I have to get a mentor, if I have to get a coach, I just want to increase my capacity so that I can begin to bring about more impact, more influence. I can begin to stand out in my sphere of influence. I am going to increase my capacity. Okay, the second C, so C in stretch is choose to be intentional, and second C is stay committed. So be committed to the process. In increasing capacity, there will be a process. Gold always has to go through a process for you to see fine gold, for you to see beautiful 20 karat ring, to see 28 karat ring. Everyone says, oh, I love your 18 karat earrings. It had to go through a process. So often we have to stay committed to the process. in you increasing capacity, there's going to be, there's going to be challenges along the way. You're going to feel like giving up often. You're going to feel like you don't want to do it anymore. Often, there's so many things that I don't feel like doing, but I know I have to stay committed. Commitment, you find, takes you to another level. But when you stay commitment just means that I am going to do it. It's almost like being intentional as well. I'm going to do this. I choose to do this. I'm not going to give up. I am going to put in my best, and I'm going to get this done. So choose to stay committed to the process. The process is almost like, when you have a beautiful butterfly show up, nobody sees the process he has to go through right from the very beginning. He has to go through being, a larva. He has to go through being a chrysalis. He has to go through that whole process. And there are silent times in that process. There are silent seasons in that process. But guess what? It submits to the process in increasing its capacity. Because now, if it can just submit to the process, guess what? It's going to eventually become a beautiful butterfly. So let us submit to the process so that eventually we will come forth like a beautiful butterfly. I want to share that with you. And the H in stretch stands for the two things for H. The first thing is help as many people as you can by adding value to them. Help as many people as you can by adding value to them. You can never go wrong with adding value. You can never go wrong with adding value. I know Zig Ziglar has this quote that says that if you help as many people get what they want, eventually, guess what will happen? They will help you get what you want. Or it's almost like if you let them get what they want, you will eventually get what you want. So I found that adding value is a cycle. It always comes back to us. So look around you and say, you know what? How am I going to add value to? Let it be beyond moving from being in the place of I want to be successful to I want to be significant. Significance goes beyond success. It just goes in the point of saying, who can I add value to? Who can I help right now? Who can I look at and say, you were where I used to be. I'm going to help you get intentional. I'm going to help you get better. I'm going to add value. Who can you add value to? So every day, I want to say something that the master officer says. He always says, every day you wake up, look for somebody you can add value to. He says, think of people you can add value to. He says, think of ways in which you can add value to those people. And I want to say to us, yes, let's help other people. Help as many people. You can never go wrong with adding value. And the second H in stretch, the second H I want to share is have the right attitude. So in increasing capacity, attitude is so key. You always hear that quote that says that your attitude determines your altitude. You must have a right attitude. If you want to grow, your attitude is key. As you're developing those growth relationships, the people you're doing relationships with are going to watch your attitude. How is this person behaving? How are they communicating? So your attitude is so key. Your attitude is so key. Your attitude, I can't even overemphasize this point. How are you, how is your attitude? Even when things are not going the way you want them to go, what is your attitude? So you must choose to have the right attitude. And in saying this, I want to mention, in having the right attitude, you must choose, because we spoke about stretching your mind, starting from the inside. It also means, remember that you must not have a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset means that things cannot change. Things are always going to remain this way. And that's why we spoke about stretching from the inside, starting from your mind. You must think growth mindset. I'm going to have a growth mindset, which means I can change. Things can change in my life. I don't have to be the same person I was 3 years ago. I don't have to be the same person I was 6 months ago. But I'm going to choose to have a growth mindset. I'm going to do all I can do, because as I have a growth mindset, I'm actually going to see growth. So have that attitude of growing. Have the attitude. So when things don't even work out the way you planned them to, guess what? It's not the end of the world. They might not have worked well as I planned it, but guess what? What lesson am I going to learn in this process that I can still use? So have a growth mindset. Think growth. And growth is always learning. When you think growth, it means that you're always ready to learn. Always be a student, to show up and say, what can I learn? Even when, I didn't get it right the first time. Imagine Thomas Edison that always says that he tried 10,000 times when he was inventing the light bulb. But to him, he did not fail 10,000 times. Guess what he said? He said he just found out 10,000 ways not to do what he was doing. 10,000 ways not to invent the light bulb, not 10,000 ways not to get that light bulb working. That was all he found out. So guess what? In that age where I says have the right attitude, have an attitude that you are constantly growing. And if you have the attitude, guess what's going to happen? You'll find out that nothing bothers you, even when you don't, even when you only see a little bit of growth. Guess what? You'll find out that you're still, you're appreciative of that growth. So this is my 10 ways to increase your capacity, and I hope that has helped you. It's time to stretch. It's time to step out of the box. If you want to be more, this is the More in You podcast. One of the things that God has put up on my heart is to help people birth the more that is within them. I always say, for each of us, greatness lies within us. There is greatness within. And when I talk about this greatness, our greatness lies in, our personality. It lies in our identity. Our greatness lies in our personality. Our greatness lies in our potentials. Our greatness lies in us living out our purpose. But guess what? If we don't decide that we are going to birth that greatness, we might never see it. So we must choose to birth the greatness within us. There is more within you, and so you get ready to stretch so that way your greatness is coming forth. I hope you're able to pick at least one or two from those. I'm so excited, and this and some other tips are going to come out in one of the books I'm writing. I'm so excited. I'm almost done. Intentionality, the Game Changer. So stay tuned. That book is coming your way very, 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 very soon. By the end of this month, it should be ready. I'm so excited. Have an awesome day. I'll see you again next week.